Ever get that hollow feeling? That specific, empty ache in your chest after you've spent 2 hours scrolling through TikTok or Reels? You finally put the phone down, the room is quiet, and you realize you just watched 300 videos, and you can't remember a single one. You feel overstimulated, yet drained, restless, yet paralyzed. What you just experienced is a 200-year-old experiment. Back in 1820, a grumpy German philosopher named Arthur Schopenhauer spent his days observing the wealthy elite at parties in Frankfurt. He watched them drink champagne, wear their finest clothes, and laugh, and he realized something terrifying. None of them were happy. They were running. They were running from a truth so uncomfortable that they preferred any distraction, any instant pleasure, any shallow gossip, just to avoid looking inward. Arthur Schopenhauer saw a flaw in human nature that we only managed to fully prove 2 centuries later with the invention of the Instagram algorithm. You are doing exactly what those 19th century aristocrats were doing, but now, you have an AI-driven, high-speed delivery system optimized to keep you in that race forever. Welcome to the Schopenhauer Experiment. Schopenhauer figured out the glitch in the human operating system. He argued that human life swings like a pendulum between 2 states, pain and boredom. Think about it. You want something, a new car, a better job, a specific person, or even just a like on a photo. As long as you don't have it, you suffer. You feel a lack. That is pain. But then, the glitch happens. You finally get what you wanted. For a few seconds, or maybe a few days, you feel a spike of excitement. But then, it fades. The new car becomes just a car. The job becomes a routine. The likes don't feel like enough anymore. You fall into boredom, a hollow, neutral void. And because humans hate the void, we immediately look for a new desire to pull us back to the other side. The cycle restarts. Look at Tinder. It's the Schopenhauer pendulum in app form. You want a match. You suffer through the nose. You get the match. You feel a 3-second hit of dopamine. And then, you're already bored, swiping for the next one. We've built a civilization based on accelerating this pendulum. In the old days, you'd wait months for a letter. Now, you have a crisis if someone doesn't reply in 10 minutes. We've optimized the delivery of desire, and the result, the most anxious, depressed, and overmedicated generation in history. We aren't moving toward happiness, we're just swinging faster. Here's that cat's out of the bag moment that nobody tells you. What we call happiness isn't actually a positive state. Schopenhauer argued that pleasure is negative. What does that mean? It means that what we call pleasure is just the temporary stopping of a pain. Think about drinking water when you're dying of thirst. It feels like heaven. But is the water heavenly? No. The feeling comes from the stopping of the thirst. Once you're no longer thirsty, the water is just water. It becomes neutral. Humans hate neutral. Neutral is boredom. So we go out looking for the next hit of dopamine. Big tech companies aren't selling you happiness. They are selling you the temporary relief of the unhappiness they helped create. Every scroll is a promise. The next video will be the one. The next post will satisfy you. And you believe it, because the alternative is sitting with the void and realizing that maybe there isn't a next one that will solve your life. You're trapped in an algorithm that wasn't created by Silicon Valley. It was created by the very structure of human consciousness. The app is just a mirror. Let's do a mental exercise. Think about the thing you wanted most 5 years ago. That one thing you swore would change your life. Maybe it was a degree, a person, a salary, or a body goal. Did getting it make you permanently happy? Probably not. If you got it, it's now just your normal. If you didn't get it, something else took its place as the new carrot on the stick. There's a famous study about lottery winners. Within months, their happiness levels return to exactly where they were before they won millions. The mansion becomes just a house. The luxury becomes a chore. This is because the problem was never the lack of money or the lack of stuff. The problem is that you are a human being, and human beings are biologically programmed to never be satisfied. If you were ever truly satisfied, you'd stop buying. If you accepted your body, the beauty industry would go bankrupt. If you stopped chasing status, half of the global economy would collapse. The system needs you to be miserable. It sells you the narrative that you're almost there. Just one more course, one more product, one more zero in the bank account. Schopenhauer called this desire as the structure of existence. To live is to want is to lack. Therefore, to live is to lack. The carrot is made of plastic. It's not meant to be eaten, it's meant to keep you running. So, how do we live in a world that profits from our emptiness? How do we survive the constant pressure of a world that never sleeps? Schopenhauer wasn't just a prophet of doom. He gave us a map to the escape hatches. The first and most accessible one is art. But he wasn't just talking about wandering through a dusty museum. He was talking about the moment of pure perception. Think about the game you're watching right now, or the one you play to unwind. Why does it feel so good? It's not just the high scores or the graphics. It's because, for a brief window of time, the will inside you stops screaming. When you are truly lost in a melody, a cinematic sequence, or the flow state of a difficult boss fight, your ego dissolves. You aren't you anymore. You aren't the person with bills to pay, an ex to forget, or a body you're insecure about. You become a pure subject of knowing. You are simply a witness to beauty and skill. Schopenhauer believes that art is the only time we look at the world without wanting to use it. Normally, we see a tree and think of lumber. We see a person and think of sex or status. We see a video and think of a comment we can leave. But in the aesthetic state, you just see. You stop being a consumer. You stop being a hunter. You are, for a few minutes, free from the hunger of existence. This is why we crave stories. This is why we spend billions on entertainment. It's not escapism in a cowardly sense. It's a necessary medicine. It's a temporary vacation from the torture chamber of desire. But Schopenhauer warns us, art is only a holiday. Eventually, the music stops, the credits roll, the console turns off, and the pendulum starts swinging again. To find a more permanent peace, we have to go deeper. We have to look at the people around us. The second escape hatch is compassion. And this is where Schopenhauer's dark philosophy actually becomes incredibly kind. He argued that the individual is an illusion. He believed that the same blind, hungry force, the will, is living inside every single one of us. When you look at the person you envy on Instagram, the one with the perfect life, the perfect vacation, and the perfect partner, you are looking at a puppet being jerked around by the same strings as you. They are suffering from the same fear of death, the same hollow boredom, and the same desperate need for validation. Schopenhauer suggested that we should stop calling each other sir or my lord and start calling each other philosopher. Imagine how different the internet would be if we realized this. The person leaving a hate comment in your mentions, they are hurting. The influencer faking a smile for a brand deal, they are terrified of becoming irrelevant. When you realize that your neighbor is just another version of yourself trapped in the same biological machinery, the walls of the ego start to crumble. You stop competing. You stop the world from using you to crush others. In the digital age, we are taught to use people as rungs on a ladder. We use them for likes, for networking, for ego boost. Schopenhauer invites us to do the opposite, to see the shared tragedy of being alive. Compassion is the realization that we are all in a sinking boat together, and in a sinking boat, there's no point in fighting over who has the best seat. This shift in perspective doesn't just make you a better person, it actually lightens your own load, because when you stop seeing others as rivals, the pendulum of pain loses its momentum. Finally, we reach the most radical exit of all, the denial of the will. This isn't just a lifestyle choice, it's a total declaration of war against your own nature. Schopenhauer believes that the will, that hungry, blind force inside you, is a tyrant that will never, ever be satisfied. It doesn't want you to be happy, it just wants you to keep wanting. If the will is a fire that burns through your energy, your time, and your mental health, the only way to win is to stop feeding it. Every time you say no to a mindless craving, every time you realize you don't need the latest upgrade, every time you resist that urge to check your phone for the 20th time in an hour, you are winning a battle against a cosmic machine. We live in a dopamine economy. Algorithms are literally built to bypass your logic and talk directly to your primal will. Notifications are designed to trigger a sense of lack, a small sting of pain, and the feed is there to provide a 2-second relief. It's a closed loop, a digital hamster wheel. Breaking this cycle is the hardest thing a human can do. It requires what Schopenhauer called asceticism. Now, you don't have to move to a cave and eat nothing but rice, but you do need to become a digital ascetic. You need to realize that every desire you eliminate is a string the world can no longer pull. Minimalism isn't about having a pretty, empty room for an Instagram photo. That's just another trap of the will. True minimalism is having a mind that doesn't need external validation to feel neutral. It's the ability to sit in a quiet room, without a screen, and not feel like your soul is rotting. When you stop being a slave to your desires, the corporations that profit from your dissatisfaction lose their power over you. You become a glitch in their system. You become a person who cannot be bought. There's one more thing Schopenhauer wanted us to face, something the algorithm tries to make us forget every single day: time. The will is obsessed with the future. It lives in the next video, the next purchase, the next relationship. It keeps your eyes fixed on a horizon that keeps moving away from you, and while you're staring at that horizon, your life is leaking out of the bottom of the bucket. Schopenhauer noted that we are like people playing a game of catch while standing on a sinking ship. We are so focused on the ball, our tiny, daily desires, that we forget the ocean is rising. Death is the final boss of the will. It is the moment when the hunger finally stops. But why wait for the end to find peace? The ultimate goal of this philosophy isn't to make you depressed. It's to make you sober. When you accept that permanent happiness is a ghost, a lie sold to you by people who want your money, something amazing happens. The pressure disappears. You stop panicking when you feel bored. You stop feeling like a failure when you aren't excited 24/7. You realize realize that a quiet, peaceful, neutral life is actually the greatest victory you can achieve. So, here is your manual for survival in the Schopenhauer experiment. First, stop the "when I get X" delusion. It's a mirage. You'll get there, and the void will still be waiting. Second, protect your attention. It's the only currency you actually have. Don't give it away to a machine that doesn't love you. Third, look at your fellow humans with compassion. We are all puppets. We are all swinging on the same pendulum. The Wi-Fi in this digital labyrinth is amazing. The content is infinite, but you will never find your peace in a scroll. Honesty is the rarest thing in 2026. Schopenhauer doesn't offer you a fake smile or a hustle culture blueprint. He offers you a mirror. Look in that mirror, recognize the pendulum, and then, for the first time in your life, just stop running. The carrot is real. It never was. The exit is right behind you. All you have to do is turn off the screen and walk through it.